Welcome to Drive Time. This is the UCLA Anderson podcast called Drive Time. My name is Dylan Stafford. I am your host. I'm an assistant dean here. My guest today is Cheddy Matthews, class of 24 in our executive MBA program. And I am very excited about this. Cheddy's down in San Diego. I'm here in Westwood at the UCLA campus. And we're going to talk today about leadership. I don't know if you've heard, but we have a new brand at UCLA Anderson. It's called Transformative Leadership. And we did a big dive and saw that that's what we're about here, that we have this incredibly eclectic student body from every industry, every function, all up and down the West Coast, out of state and around the world. And especially in EMBA, in our fully employed, in our working professional programs, you come take these classes while you keep your job. And I said it the other night, we don't want you to be like a 10% faster caterpillar. We want you to be a butterfly. So that's the transformative part. And I had the honor of meeting Cheddy last summer. He took the course that I co-teach with Khush, professor from the social welfare department, called Being a Leader in the Effective Exercise of Leadership. And I got to meet Cheddy during that, and he supported Palooza last summer, and we've kind of kept up through the year. And it's just an honor, Cheddy. Thank you for carving out the time to do this.
This is spectacular. So, I just love being in the same space with you, Dylan. It's just one of those things that your smile, I think you have the best smile in UCLA, and that's a fact. So,
well,
it opens doors. Let's just say that.
Well, thank you. And, by way of introduction, Cheddy is a speaker and a trainer and a coach. He works with executives and helps people go from good to great or from great to amazing. And I think you're going to get a flavor of that as you get to hear from Cheddy. And I really am looking forward to getting to share some of your story, share some of your success, put this on film. You have a military background. You're a veteran, 20 years in the Marine Corps, and doing some very eclectic and different stuff in addition to coaching, being a citizen and working with our government as a citizen. And I just respect the way you're running your life. And, I'd love to have your story inspire people who are in the program to go for it and people who are newly admitted or considering us for the future, right?
Absolutely.
Like UCLA is a place, it's you got to put on your big boy pants, big girl, big person pants, right? It's not nothing to say yes to this. And when you give yourself permission to say yes to your biggest dreams, you get your biggest results is what I was hoping to share, getting to introduce you to people. So where should we start? What should we tell them about?
Oh my gosh. Let's start with today. Why not? Let's just start with where we are today.
Let's do it.
This is the fun part, and it's the easiest to remember, and it's going to be less embellishment because it's happening right now. So where do I start? I do a few things. So I carry a few hats. I love a microphone. I mean, if you look around me, I have multiple microphones right now because I love a mic. And I'll grab a mic, and I'm going to beatbox on it, and I'm going to hopefully share some wisdom. As a speaker and coach, I like to say it this way. I want to change lives, and I want to add value to people's lives. Speaking enables me to do that one to many, whereas coaching enables me to do that one to one. And so what's more intimate, but it can be the same transformation. So the goal for me is to speak to someone, spark something that enables them to say, I'm going to change something in my life. And if they need follow-on, come see me as a coach and let's do some one-on-one coaching. Because as you said, good to great, great to amazing, what does that really mean? If you're dealing with highly effective people that are high functioning, highly successful, that's great. Now what? And what's success for you? If everyone says, you're so successful, you've done this thing, that doesn't mean you feel successful. That doesn't mean that success was even in your mind when you did it. It could be a fear of, I don't know. What else is there for you? What is accomplishment to you? Have you reached your mountaintop? Or is it a bottomless ocean? A peakless mountain? Where are we going? And I find a lot of times people who you would say are highly successful have more to go, even if society thinks they've made it to the pinnacle. Because I think, as you know, success doesn't have an expiration date. It keeps going. So that's the game plan. That's me in a nutshell.
How long have you been coaching?
Oh dear. I started training to be a coach in 2016. I
Oh, okay.
retired from the Marine Corps, and I went to a John Maxwell certified program to learn to be a better speaker. I'm like, speakers, people get on the stage. I'm like, wow, I want to be a speaker. And I'm loving this. And somebody gets up there and shows us how to do training and do masterminds and group facilitations. And I'm like, yes, I'm in. Then Christian Simpson, my coach, my mentor now, gets up on the stage and is sober as a judge, sound, stoic, not smiling. Man, everyone else is cheerleading. He's just serious. And he tells 4,000 people, maybe 5,000 people, do not get into coaching if you're not serious about it. Do not come here if you want to dabble and play, because you're messing with people's lives. And the things you say and do can affect people's lives in a good way or in a very detrimental way based on what you say and do as a coach. And it threw me back. And I was like, whoa, just the gravity of what he said was like, that's how I want to change lives. That's what I want to do in the world. So I started training to be a coach.
2016. So, and you retired from the Marines in 2014, right?
2014 is when I retired from the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was doing all kinds of things. What was I doing? I was doing life insurance. I created a business. I created a recruiting company, did that. Didn't like it at all. I loved insurance because I love helping people in a meaningful way. And coming out of the military, watching people who had perished and watch that insurance money go to the wrong person, or people who became underinsured, was like, people don't know how important this is. So I wanted to do life insurance. Loved it. My sister got sick in England. She eventually passed away. And I dropped my book of business. Was like, I'm going to England to take care of her. I'm retired. I can do that. And I'm going to stay there until she gets better. I think when she passed away, I was devastated. And here's a guy who's thinking, I've seen death tons of times. I've done many military funerals, done all the whole decedent affairs. I'm like, I've seen death, real time, all the admin of it, from notification to burial. I've seen it all. I'm good. That's just not how that works. I don't think experience gets you better at seeing death. And I was broken. I lost my sister. She's the one that would, as a kid, beat me up all the time. Beat me the heck up. Like, she would break me off. But that was her right. No one else could do it because she'd beat other people if they tried to mess with me. But it was her right, which was reserved for her to break me off, as she would. But as we got older, we realized we were so similar and we were so aligned, and she was my motivator. I have two sisters. One of them is my cheerleader, who my sister Pat is phenomenal. And Annette, the one that passed away, was the one that was, whenever I was afraid to do something, someone gave me an opportunity to be a CEO at a company. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never done that before. She's like, do it now. What are you waiting for? To figure it out. She was always that one that would push you into things that were uncomfortable. And I love that. And I adopted that. Like, I'm that guy that's like, let's do it. We'll figure it out. And that came from my sister, who was so assertive, so just a go-getter. And that is something that in her passing, it highlighted that, because I realized it was gone. But the memory of that still lives in me, I believe. And that's how I want to change the world. So many of us know what we want to do, don't know how to get there. And there's a gap between us. Speaking to a fellow speaker last night, and it was like, there's a gap, a chasm between knowing and doing. And what we do is try to bridge that gap. And I gave him the analogy yesterday. Some of us high-performing individuals, we're like high-speed trains that aren't on tracks. Imagine a bullet train. I mean, I was in England, they own this bullet train. I'm like, this train is so fast. Holy smokes, it was great. And I was thinking, what if that train wasn't on tracks? Nice seats, nice chairs, amazing doors, got restrooms, and it's really cool, got tables, going nowhere. How many successful people are in that state? Know what to do, all the right things, got all the right pedigree, been to the right schools, and still aren't going forth to get that desire they have in their life. That is the space that I want to occupy. Those are the people I want to deal with. People who know there's something else. Yeah, I did a lot of great things, but there's something else. And those that know what got you here is not necessarily going to get you there. Those principles are things that drive me, because I realized that in my own life, that was a thing. And beyond that, I remember an executive recruiter I used to work with years ago was like, the air is thin up there. I mean, who is the CFO talking to? The COO, CTO, CIO, CXO? Who are you talking to? And then who are you talking to when you're vulnerable? Because if someone's vying for your job, you're probably going to tell your peer that you're having a vulnerability, personal, professional, emotional, psychological, financial, whatever, because you may lose your job the next week. So then you suffer in silence. And you think about all these high performing individuals that are potentially suffering in silence with no one to talk to, no one to deal with it, because who do you tell? How many peers can you tell? You can't tell your vice president that you as the CEO are going through a marital issue that's really affecting the way you come to work and your decision-making abilities and your judgment or anything like that, or the way you show up in public. You can't do that. Or you've gone through a scandal or some kind of an event that has really rocked your world. How do you recover from that? So I like to operate in those spaces that people don't either think about or don't want to talk about, but they're real things. So I deal with the boogeyman that exists.
You deal with the boogeyman that exists.
Yes, that's a real boogeyman, but no one talks about it. So
yeah,
my space.
Yeah, I love the observation, right? What is LeBron James and Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan? What do they all have in common, right? They all have a coach.
Wow.
You know, you can be the best. Tiger Woods got a coach. You know, you can be the best at your craft. And I mean, those men are the best at their craft,
yeah,
and they have a coach.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes in business, you know, it's like, where do we, like, I think it's obvious in sports,
Yeah.
except, you know, I'm just on basketball, but you know, except for Allen Iverson, like everybody else knew they needed a coach. Practice. We don't need practice. But you know, like in sports, we see it, right?
Yeah.
Like, because someone can see something about my jump shot that I will never see.
Exactly.
But do we as executives, you know, like, does American business culture or global business culture, don't limit it to America, you know, make space for what a coach is to a person who is aiming to be amazing, aiming to be the best?
Wow, that was a beautiful question. I'm gonna say yes. Can I say yes?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say
Yeah.
yes. So yes and no. I mean, coaching, a lot of times when people think of coaching, they think of the sports coach.
Yeah.
Which to me is a lot of times more of a mentor because they're showing you what to do the way they've done it. Mm-hmm. As a coach, I'm not telling you how to do anything. All I'm trying to do is increase your awareness, open your aperture to things that are already within you. It's like true education, educo from within, without. So I'm trying to get with what's in you and educe it out of you. Because you know your industry, you know your personality, you know the things that I don't know. But sometimes things can be hidden in plain sight. If your hand stays here long enough, you may not even see it. After a while, you kind of see around it. So sometimes there can be issues there. I just want to expose you to a set of questions that makes you think and pause and turn the chess table around and see it from the other side, see a different perspective, find out the deeper meaning, the why behind the why. Mm-hmm. You know, why is this an issue to you? You know, and open-ended questions that enable you to think and me to just help you go there. I'm like a Sherpa, just guiding you through that thought process in your mind, in those places that are so hidden, those enclaves that are hidden, where that thing that is holding you back is way back there and it's got dust on it. It's a chest with a lock and a chain and a key. And I want to open that, figure out what that is so you can move forward. That comes from really open-ended questions for the most part. And I'm not telling you what to do. This is not prescriptive at all. People think it is, and they'll expect you to be like, hey, coach, fix me. What should I do?
Right.
That's a mentorship relationship. I can do that, but that's a mentorship relationship. And I think it's limited in some ways because it shows you how to be me or my version of me or the way I see the world. That negates your genius. That negates your magic. That negates your superpower. And I don't think it's fair to me as a coach to do that to anybody. It's a disservice. And my coach, Christian Simpson, is a phenom and would never allow that, would never permit that kind of behavior as a coach that is certified through his Conscious Coaching Academy. He wouldn't have it. So no, as a coach, I'm really just asking questions to help you to find out what's within you, because I believe your genius is within you. It's innate.
We may be skipping some important content from your journey. So
absolutely, we can.
But my question, you know, so you're coming up on graduation in the executive MBA program, 21 intense months. And a big thing that we talk about at UCLA Anderson, there's what you learn in the classroom. That's the center of the value proposition. But in the executive MBA, it's Tom and his team. You know, we have dedicated career coaches, dedicated executive coaching professionals. And we have a parallel Pam and Jackie and Marge and her team in the FEMBA program. What was it like for you? You already are a coach. You've been doing it since 16. You're making a living giving this to the world professionally. You know, like, why did you want an MBA? And then how has it been to be receiving coaching during your MBA as a person who makes a living being a coach? Like, tell me what surprised you, just tell me about what that,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
So before I moved out to California, I knew a bunch of people going through an executive MBA.
Okay.
And of course, I'm watching them study, they'd be like, hey, Cheddy, what do you think about this? I'll give them answers. I was a business coach at the time. Give them answers. Just give them something. If I'm giving them, the students, information, then I don't need the MBA.
Yeah.
Lie number one. And that was a big one. But that was lie number one. That was like a limited, not even a limiting belief, a false belief is what that was. I don't need it. I'm helping them out. So if I'm helping them, I don't need it. I'm good. Okay. I read books. I'm great. And I think at some point, the more
nothing wrong with books. We like books. Books are good.
Books are awesome, but there's a point where you get to start thinking that because I've read a book, I know. But what started to happen was the more books I would read would lead me to read other books. And sometimes I'd go to a bibliography and read another book and be like, I don't know anything in this space. And I started to realize there's a lot that I know and there's a lot that I don't know. And as a coach, even though I'm not talking about my expertise, I felt I could add more value if I knew more and could fill in those gaps of my knowledge base. Because 20 years in the Marine Corps, 20 years in the military, there's a lot of things you know. I have a myriad of skill sets, but there's still some things that I didn't know. And reading those books exposed me to that when I started to realize there's things I don't know. And the more I dug into them, reading another book isn't going to help. There were really things out there that you're just not aware of. And I wanted to be abreast of the new trends. Technology is changing so fast. I realized that time is changing. It's almost like the clock has sped up on development. If you can imagine a curve, what advancements that would take a decade nowadays probably take a few months. I mean, if you look at AI right now, the curve on that, where it was 2 years ago to where it is now, is mind-boggling. So time sped up, and I said, I need to stay abreast of what's here and what's coming. And I want to learn to think. It's funny because your slogan was thinking the next, the old slogan. Yeah. But I like that because it was like, part of the reason why I was here was so I could think about what's coming, not necessarily what's here, and be prepped in the way that I think to do that. Like I told Professor Kramer, who teaches tech management and tech and society, and he does the Eastern Tech in fellows and stuff like that. I told him, I'm taking your class because I want to learn to think like you. Seriously. I said, there's a way that you think about technology that I want to learn. And I want to learn your thought process, just the way you think about it. It was the reason I took the course. It's the reason why I'm going to get that certification, really, because I realized, or the specialization, should I say, it's the reason why I decided to come to school anyway, to fill in those gaps, to think differently, because I realized whatever I knew is not what I need to know now. Learning doesn't stop. And there are things that I just need to know. And I think, as you know, the more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know. So there was a humbling aspect to this. And whereas in the beginning, I was like, I don't need this. I'm good. I can read. Now it's like, what would I have done without this? And why did it take me so long to do it? Because this is life-changing.
I think in LA, just like with entertainment and real estate being so, like they're important. Like if you can't figure out how to pay to stay here, you got to figure out the real estate equation. And then, entertainment's in the background, and it's such a gig economy and a relationship-based economy. And we have so many warriors, I want to say, successful business people out of those two disciplines who really are self-made people.
Yes.
And I think there's a little bit of, like, if you go to Boston, everyone has 2 PhDs, right? That's that side of the country. And over here, we're, there's this, and people are very proud of that. But over here, it's kind of like the self-made person. And
it is different.
But my question is always, but what are you gonna recommend to your kids? Because I always respect a self-made person, but it's such a combination of genetics and positioning and attitude, and we offer a scaffolding.
Yes.
And oh my God, and to circle back to Professor Kramer, he gets so many shout outs on these podcasts. And
I shout out a whole bunch.
And he's got that HBS, case method type approach. And okay, what are the 3 takeaways? And I always love like the discipline, because I've seen him speak and present, and there's
Yeah.
always like a rigor with that man that is so, it's inspiring, right? Like, because how do you filter out all the noise?
The noise.
Yeah.
Yes. He's good at that. But he's not the only one. I mean, I could go on being here for an hour talking about the professors that have impacted my life in so many areas that I didn't expect. The way they help
let's
you
do
to
a
think.
shout out or two. Throw a couple else up there that really.
John Ullmen. Yeah. As a coach, I'm a fanboy. I'm shamelessly a fanboy of you, Professor John Ullmen, because you are the coach I aspire to be.
Really?
Really?
Wow.
I mean, really. But then beyond that, Bob, let's go again. Bob McCann. I'm like, I'm a speaker, and I'm like, people are like, oh, you don't need to take this course. You're a speaker. I'm like, no, this is high level stuff that he's teaching right now. There's levels to this, and Professor McCann teaches you those levels. Yeah. I do believe that, and I love it. But the list goes on. I mean, really, I can go on and go on and go on and go on. So it's like, spin the bottle. Where does it stop? Because I could talk about Craig Fox, Professor Fox, and just the way he talks about behavior and the way he thinks teaches you to notice things. Because I always tell my kids, question everything. And no class I've taken here at UCLA has taught me more about questioning everything than choice architecture. Because I realize how many things we do aren't choice.
And is that Professor
Craig Fox? Oh yeah, choice architecture is a phenomenal class. Absolutely love it. Absolutely recommend it. There's so many other professors here, and now I'm just talking about all my electives, but there are core classes too. I'll go with Professor Kim-Gina, Jessica Kim-Gina, how she made accounting, which was like very, oh my gosh, accounting. She made it fun, interactive, entertaining, engaging, and you learn a thing or two at the end of it. You're like, holy smokes. I love her approach. She made something that was so pressing, so intimidating, become like fun. You wanted to go to accounting class. Like, who says that? Sorry, accountants, I get you say that, but regular guys like me, we don't say that. And it was just the learning that came out of it. And I'll even tell you economics, which I struggled in economics. Holy smokes. I used to have nightmares about supply and demand curves. Seriously, they would be like, supply and demand curves would be in my dreams floating around. And I would wake up like, that's how bad it was. Yet, all of a sudden you start realizing that those principles stuck. They stuck. And you're like, holy smokes. You see the world differently. You see the world differently. And then you have Professor Chris Tang, and I had him for operations.
You've had some really good
professors. I had the pantheon of like awesome professors. I mean, it was pretty amazing. But one thing I liked about him is we went technical and we learned about ops, very technical. He would take the time at the end of class to break down things as a manager. And it would either be, do this is what I did, this may work for you, or don't do this, I did this mistake, don't make this mistake. It was so real. It was so boots on ground. It was really at this executive level, there are mistakes that you have been made or successes found that we can learn from secondhand based on his tyings to the lesson to real life. It was a masterclass. It was a masterclass in tying. And he wasn't the only professor that did it. It's just that it stuck. When he did it, it was like, holy smokes, it was intentional. It was so intentional. And the level of caring, like if I go on to Ian Larkin, Professor Larkin, that class, general management is called. I'm actually I think I wrote down in my survey that you need to change the name and like really go into what it is. Because it sounds like, because I was like, I've been managing for 27 years, 30 years. I'm good. I don't need this class, but I'm going to take it. I get in there. I'm like, holy smokes. I know nothing about management, nothing at all. It's been a waterfall, a cascading of just knowledge, new things. It's the unlearning and the relearning and the way he breaks down a case that makes you think this, and then you change it and you start to question your thoughts to get like a deeper understanding. Absolutely genius. Absolutely genius. The rigor in that class is mind-boggling. I love it. The emotion that comes out, his raw emotion. Because a lot of times the cases are cases that he's experienced in real time, or cases that he's created from his experiences. So he knows them on a deeper level. And it comes out and you feel it. You feel his passion, you feel his insight, you feel his knowledge. I love it. I love it. And so, I mean, I honestly could go on. Look, I even had Gonzalo for a class, Dean Gonzalo Freixes.
Oh, you did? For international tax or which
I didn't take that one. No, it's actually for our IBR. So went to Chile, and just his passion and the depth. He has a gravitas about him, the way he teaches, that is just like, this is rich. This is so good. And then speaker series, like I've done a few speaker series. That's not a word. I'm just going to use it right now. And one of them was with, Dean Tony Bernardo, and it was with Ed Bastian. This was a few weeks ago. Who is actually the CEO of Delta. He had a speaker series just before he won the
the Wooden
Award.
Yeah, that's right.
Seeing C-suite executives talking about real world issues is beautiful. Seeing students that come back that are executives of Neiman Marcus or other companies come back and just talk about what they're doing. See entrepreneurs come back is phenomenal. Speaking of entrepreneurs, got a George Abe, the dream killer.
That's right. Yeah.
I love it because here I am, Mr. Cheerleader. You're going to be great. You're going to do awesome. And you got George Abe like, that's not going to work. Who cares about your idea? Everyone's got an idea. I've seen good ideas not work, and I've seen bad ideas succeed. If you don't have a plan and a good team, it doesn't matter what idea you have. That was a paradigm shift for me. That was because now when I have a business idea, it's how will it not work? Let me mitigate that before I even push it forward. I find I poke the holes before anyone else can because I know the holes that are going to be poked. And he thinks like a VC because he was a VC. Yeah. So it's what he's teaching you is how they're going to deal with you and how you need to be able to be prepared for that. Without that, I think you would be very idealistic going in because our product is great and we love it and we created it. He lets you know.
I'm passionate. Like this is the one, it's such, there's like a word every year that floats up in the essays.
Yes.
It's actually been for the last couple of years. And, I start to feel like such an old man. I'm like, Dylan, are you just cynical? What is your problem? These are young people with hopes and dreams and they're passionate.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, yes, required, but insufficient.
Yes.
And if you're an entrepreneur, you got to be able to take one on the chin and keep going. So you definitely need that fire. 100%. Yes. It's required, but it's insufficient. Yeah.
Yes. So it's mind-boggling. And it's funny because I didn't want to leave out some of the women we have, but Professor Jane Guerin, the way she teaches business law, I tell you, every time we have a class, I feel like I go back to my chamber of commerce and be like, hey, we need to check on this. We need to make sure this. Let's look at this. It's one of the things I learned here, and you'll hear a bunch of students say this. We'll learn something on Sunday and you'll use it on Monday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've never been to a school where the knowledge has been so applicable the next day. Where people are like, where did you get that from? And you become a secret weapon because you have this insight that you didn't have the week before.
Yeah.
And it's impactful in your organizations. I feel like I've been seeing that the whole time as I've been dealing with my Chamber of Commerce. I'm the vice chairman at my Chamber of Commerce in National City. And with that, you cross a lot of lines with industry, government, individuals, and that triad sometimes, there's a lot of issues that come up and pop up, and a lot of compliance and legality and transparency and making sure you're the honest broker and doing things the right way. But all of these classes have had an impact in that space. Mm-hmm. All of these classes. And you wouldn't think so, but we had an economic development meeting the other day, and I was like, wow, I can handle this class a lot better now that I've had economics. Mm-hmm. And choice architecture is a thing in here. I'm seeing this. And it's interesting how things you don't think are applicable stick. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden you realize you have a quiver and you have new arrows and you have new tools in your tool belt or your bat utility belt. Call it what you want to call it. You have new ways to deal with a situation that has always been around. The situation hasn't changed. Your skill sets and tool sets and mindset have changed. So you can navigate that problem, situation, or issue differently and better. Love it. Mm-hmm. Love it. So it's the upside for me is great. And every time I look back on the fact that I was once saying, I don't need this because I can read a book, or I've got 20 years of experience in the military and I've had a few companies here and there, and I'm like, mind boggling. Because
now I'm getting totally confused because earlier I heard you say, right, like knowing and doing, like the gap, knowing.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So there's part of me that's like, well, Cheddy's just an action guy. He's just action, action, action. And then I hear you also appreciate, and you are that, but I also hear you appreciating that this knowledge is valuable. So, it's like, what is that tension of, one I learned from, I took Bob McCann. I taught under him for a couple of years because our Carla Hayn, our prior.
Yes, I didn't mention. I was going to mention her next.
Well, then you got. I'll shut up. Talk about.
No,
Carla.
no, I love Professor Hayn, Carla Hayn. I'm having her 2 times this year. I've had her once already. I'm gonna have her 2 times next term. Super excited because I'm gonna get the corporate governance specialization.
Yeah.
Because I'm a chairman of a board. It's like, why would I not do it? At first, I was like, I don't need it. I'm on a board already. And I was like, wait, I absolutely need it because I'm on a board right now. So my mindset changed. And because it did, I was exposed to a whole new world, which added a high level of sobriety when it came to my board. And I will tell you, the things that I've learned about fiduciary duties are things that I articulate to my board and my executive board. This is not a rubber stamp organization here. You're on the hook. We're on the hook. We have a fiduciary responsibility to care and be loyal and to have oversight over this organization. The gravity, I'm telling you, the air got a little bit thicker. This was like, this is serious. And I love that. And I articulate that to everybody else so that we can perform at a higher level. Because to me, the stakes are much higher. The stakes are higher. You know, our client are a whole bunch of people who are expecting us to do the right thing. The people that we work for. And we owe that to them. We owe them our best. We're on this board for a reason. We were selected for a reason. And that isn't lost on me at all. At all. So yes, I mean, I could go through, no joke. If I knew I was going to do this, I'd have a whole list of all my professors, the ones that I really love.
Well, you've hit some incredible stars. And my backstory, I've got backstories with all these wonderful people, but Carla was the dean of EMBA and FEMBA for 7 or 8 years. If anybody now or in the future in EMBA or FEMBA appreciates hybrid or the global immersions, you know, Carla, all that happened on Carla's watch, because she and Gonzalo were this really power team from about 06 to 14. And they launched global immersions. There were no 1 week study abroad choices. They invented that. And they launched hybrid in FEMBA in 2012 and then in EMBA in 2017, 2018. And you know, this is all pre-COVID when it was still well, what are we trying to be here? And you know, like there was a lot of inertia and resistance to both of those. And now they're two of the, you know, key aspects of the program. But about speaking in public, because you and I share, like, you know, we're a couple of guys who are not afraid to be on stage. And Carla made me take Bob McCann's class. And she said, Dylan, you're pretty good. He'll make you better. And oh, my arrogance, I was like, what? Because if I could do one thing, you know, like there's so many smart people around here, you know, it's easy to be intimidated. But I'm like, well, the one thing I can do is I can speak in public. And then I took Bob McCann's class. I'm like,
what am I doing?
Yeah, there is so much room to upgrade. And
yes.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. Yeah. And then like, so let me just do a couple, you know, John Ullmen with, you know, with his Air Force Academy and his military background, Craig Fox, his sons and my sons were in daycare together.
Oh yeah.
His wife is a professor at USC. They're just this beautiful family.
Love it.
Oh my God. Chris Tang, you know, with his relationship with our relationship with National University of Singapore.
Yes.
Ian Larkin and all of the contribution that he gave to the you know, the real strategic overview that we've done. And transformative leaders really arising from that and resetting the entire curriculum. Gonzalo's like my favorite older cousin. I've worked for Gonzalo for like 15 plus years.
Really?
Yeah. And if you thought that Chile trip was good, have you seen his presentation? Because he took the other trip took the people to Cuba in December. And that's the first time he's been back since he was a child.
Exactly. I wanted to go so bad. Oh.
And his story of, he is the American dream incarnate. Like his family fled communist tyranny and showed up in Inglewood with their worldly possessions, you know, all their land taken, stolen by the government, everything they owned in 2 suitcases in Inglewood.
Yeah.
And now he's a dean at UCLA. And Dean Bernardo and Ed Bastian, the CEO of Delta, hearing him talk about leading Delta through COVID and how much cash was just flying out the door. Nobody buying new tickets, everybody asking for refunds. And I think I'm going to get this wrong, but he said, I think roughly about 90,000 employees. Yep. And he said, let's see if we can do this without furloughs. And so they gave people the opt-in to, you know, leave without pay, but full benefit. Yeah. And I think he said the ratio was I think about 50,000 people took between 6 months and 2 years off,
Yep.
maintained benefits, but didn't take salary.
Yeah.
And them doing that allowed the other 40,000 for whom it was not an option
Yeah. To survive.
And I was just like, ah.
Yeah.
Oh, and George Abe, Dream Killer. Yeah, George is so great. Oh, Jane Guerin. Yeah, this is such a good list. And then Carla Hayn, you know,
yes,
like the chance to work for a leader who is, I mean, Carla took hybrid to the faculty in February of 12, got a yes vote. In April of 12, we put it on the website. In September of 2012, we launched FembaFlex. I mean, nothing ever happens that fast in a university.
In academia,
Carla,
no.
She is quite the leader. And you know, and these are all people who teach in Femba. I don't want to leave Femba out. They teach in Femba too.
Yeah.
And this nucleus that you've gone through is these are people who also lead our school broadly, not only within their discipline. And of course,
yes,
Dean Bernardo across the whole school. But
of course,
I appreciate hearing you go through the litany. I appreciate you going back to the I don't need this and cross-referencing the pre UCLA Cheddy with the during UCLA Cheddy. Yes. And I'd love to just underline what do you want to call it? Humility. Because I do challenge sometimes people, it's like come to UCLA and allow yourself the luxury of not having to be the smartest person all the time. Like it's okay to surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. And this place will do that because only this place can attract, you know, you can work at Google or wherever. They're not going to have the diverse
you're saying it
citizenry that we had, you know, with the aerospace PhDs and the, you know, blah, 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 all the we're not worthies who walk around these hallways. But like give yourself permission to drop your guard while you're here. And just revel in the embarrassment of riches of now I know these people. I'll never be as smart as her, and I'm okay with that. Yeah, because I have gifts and talents that are different. Yep. And I have put myself in an environment where I'm gonna not be the tallest, not be the fastest, not be the smartest, and that's a gift to myself because. The people who sometimes, not very often, but now and again, I work with people who are a little puffed up because, you know, in admissions, people puff up. Of course. And I want to say, like, look, I'm going to love you already. Yeah. You don't have to be more than you are. Just practice being the best you that you are. You know, it takes more strength to say, I need help on that. And it takes strength to say, but I can lead on that, like that balance. And executives who give themselves permission to be part of. What did you say earlier about the team? You said it's so good about the team. Oh my God, my writing is so terrible. Anyway, with George Abe, you know, do you have a plan? Do you have a team? I'm not, you know, it's like, so just to give yourself permission to, like, this is the thing. Sorry, I'll land the plane. Yes. If you know it already, and we've already exposed the fallacy of knowing it all, then why are you here, right? Like if you're Elon, you don't need an MBA. Fine, okay, go be a unicorn. But if you're going to be here, like be a unicorn, but be an open unicorn who really wants to hang around a bunch of other unicorns. Because I hang around you and I get inspired.
Same here, but same here. Like when I first met you, I was like, I don't know who that guy is, but I like him. I remember saying that, like, I like that guy. And I found out he was like, oh, I would. It just worked out that way because you see magic. And you said what I always tell people. I tell people, per capita, per square inch, you cannot find this caliber of person per square meter anywhere else. Because you can go to, I go to trade shows, I go to conferences, I go to events, all the same people from the same industries, silos, sectors. So the same kind of people. But here, it is multidisciplinary, multi-level of seniority, multi-generational and region, and just demographically so diverse in so many ways, yet they come together because they're all looking to perform at a high level and get to the next level. Whether that's people who are looking to excel in their industry or company, people who are looking to pivot to a new industry or company, or those who are looking to start a new endeavor and become an entrepreneur. Whatever way you want to do it, you see that all in one place. And I'm amazed by some of the people we have here, some of the technical prowess, some of the creative genius, some of the medical knowledge we have. It's mind-boggling, mind-boggling.
Wow.
And so I'm always in awe of the amazingness per square inch that you see at UCLA. And I hang around a lot of amazing people. So I have an affinity for people that I think are amazing. I do.
I
And I think
love
it's
that.
why I love this environment.
Amazingness per square inch. I love that.
They can use it as a measure.
And Dean Bernardo talks about within 1 square mile.
Yes.
You know, within 1 square mile, Jackie Robinson integrated American sports. Within
Yeah.
1 square mile, Leonard Kleinrock invented the internet. You know, it's like that's heady stuff. And you know, and just okay. Okay. I could talk to you all day. Just a couple more. I want to make sure I get in. So here's one I want to, and maybe this will be like a little subunit that I want to share people.
Sure.
You know, I was in the Corps of Cadets at Texas A&M. I did not pursue a military contract, but almost all my college roommates went on to be career military, mostly in the Air Force, but one was a Marine.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the American military is one of the best leadership laboratories in the world. And you spent 20 years in one of the branches that many people consider to be the toughest. I'm not going to get into that. Just let you guys all fight that out amongst yourselves.
What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about?
There are other branches. I'm sorry. There's only
it may be.
But like for people who are military active duty or veteran status, considering an MBA or in the MBA, you know, as you start to come towards commencement and you start to do the reflection, like you had one very deep leadership training from that 2 decades of your life.
Yes. You
know, where did that overlap with the MBA and where was it discrete? And like, how has your thinking about leadership, you know, what has the MBA done to complement, to contradict, to deepen, you know, your thinking about leadership specifically from your military starting point?
Yeah. So the word that comes to mind is synergy. And when people talk about the whole being greater than the sum of its parts, I learned a lot in military leadership. I've learned a lot here and I've learned a lot in other parts of my life. Putting them all together has created this leadership organism, this leadership ecosystem within me that exudes out of me. And when I say me, I'm just talking about me because it's me, but I can point to anybody else in my cohort and say the same thing. Everyone comes with a skill set of leadership from wherever they came from. Then you learn some more things here. You may learn some more things in other places, but bringing it all together the way it's done here is mind-boggling, because the transformative leadership framework that we have now at the school works on 2 sides of that. If you can think about 2 sides of the sphere, one hemisphere is talking about the soft skills of leadership, which people forget. They think, I don't need that stuff. It's vitally important. But let's not forget the other hemisphere, which is the hard skills, the technical things you need to do to be effective in whatever you're doing. And it's funny because before I came here, a lot of my speeches or frameworks come around being an ace, being authentic, confident, and effective. This school doesn't call it that. But every time I look at the framework of transformative leaders, that's what I see. They celebrate diversity here. Heather Caruso, another one I didn't mention. She's awesome.
Yeah.
Rock star. But I could go on with different professors. But just the authentic, being yourself, because that's the best version of you you're going to be. Being a facsimile of someone else. And I've said this before on the podcast. I'm going to say it to you, Dylan, I could study you for 5 years. I could get a PhD in Dylan Staffordology. Seriously, I could be a Dylan Staffordologist. I would still be a cheap knockoff of you. I couldn't smile the way you smile. I couldn't bring concepts together the way you do. I couldn't bring people the way you do together. And I couldn't empower people the way that you do. You have certain skill set, brother. And even, no matter how much I do, I couldn't do what you do. So why not just spend that effort on being myself and learn how to hone myself and be the best person I can be? It's a better use case. It's a better use of my time. So people have a hard time doing that. If you are authentic and you own that, it gives you a certain level of confidence because you know what you know who you are, you know what your purpose is, you know why you're here. That North Star shines bright and it enables you to be confident in what you do. The more you practice something, the more you gain confidence, the more skill sets you get, the more you master it, the more confidence you get. Confidence is a beautiful thing. Owning yourself enables you to be empowered. Being empowered and own it, having the confidence to try new things and to learn and to gain more confidence gives you effectiveness. As you become good at something, it feeds into that confidence. And it allows you to solidify the fact that I did this by being my genuine self with my skill sets and my passions and my fears and my whatever it is. You coming to the table, being confident in who you are and becoming effective in your craft, in your human craft, in your social interactions, in whatever it is you're doing, all of that coming together makes you an ace, is the way I see it. It just expands who you are, and you can just be more, have more, and do more if you can do those things. That's what, when I see transformative leaders, I'm like, holy smokes. And my training is a John Maxwell training. That's kind of like my pedigree growing up. Reading a lot of his books. That's a lot of my trainings of that. He's my mentor. I get a lot of seminars from him. And he's been doing transformative leadership for a long time. He's creating transformational leaders. He goes into organizations, helping them to become transformational leaders. And when I saw that the school was doing it, I was like, holy smokes, his mentor was John Wooden. I'm like, my mentor, John C. Maxwell, his mentor was John Wooden. Wow. At that same school where John Wooden is so famous, the school that I'm going to, the business school that I decided to attend, Anderson School of Management, is now talking about being transformative leaders. This is phenomenal. This is full circle for me. It solidifies and validates what he's been saying to me for so long. It feels like I've had the informal education in this space. Now I'm getting the formal education and training in this space. And I just feel like if I thought I was good before, I feel like I'm even more ready now to change the world and to help other people change the world in their way. It's empowering.
Wow.
Well, didn't see any of that coming, by the way. This is all stuff that happened when I got in, like, whoa, where'd this come from?
There may not be anything to say, but I'm gonna put this little question in there. Like, so yes, and I want to send my military folks that I speak with, I want to send them to this right here. But
yes,
you could talk specifically to people who are active duty or veteran status who are just trying to, I think sometimes it's like, it's like, can they really envision themselves in the corporate, it's just such a different universe.
Absolutely. Okay. It's different and it isn't different.
Okay, talk about that.
Yeah. So I was enlisted first, then I became an officer, and I've had different jobs. So I was a communications officer, very technical. Then I became an acquisitions officer, it was very technical, different things. I've done multiple different things in that space. I've done some things that were liaison jobs or advisory roles, and those are all different skill sets. So you can retool and learn a new industry. So a military person can learn anything. And I'll tell you, most military people, the issue isn't what can I do? It's what do I want to do? Because they're so multi-skilled. The issue is trying to hone in on the thing that you're passionate about, because you're probably good at a whole bunch of things. But which one do you want to do day in, day out is the issue. Another issue, or not even issue, concern that I've seen a lot, because I used to mentor veterans as they were coming out, was you speak military speak. Right. Very few people do. Very few. And not as many people speak it as you think, because you came from a micro/macrocosm. It's a big microcosm, but you came from a world where everyone knew the talk. And even in that, each service has the same, there can be one word that means a different thing in different services, even within the military. So you have to learn this new language, this whole new lexicon. And what you thought this meant means something different out in the civilian world. This school is a great way to help you transfer and translate your military skills into things and ideas and areas that people understand in the civilian world. It's a great segue. Not only that, it can help you see a different side of the coin, like it did for me. I thought I knew what I knew, but I didn't know what I didn't know. This helps you to fill in those gaps because you have the leadership. You've got the confidence. You've got the ability to make lemonade out of lemons. Let's call it that. You know how to make lemon meringue pie out of lemons. Whatever's given to you, you can turn it good. That is a great skill set. It's a soft skill with no name to it. This enables you to put a technical term on that, maybe. And to me, it solidifies what you've done in the military, and it just adds to it. It bolsters it. One without the other, yeah, either one's good. Together, I think they're phenomenal. And to me, again, it's synergistic. It's not like it's 1 + 1 is 2. I think, MBA, executive MBA, full-time MBA, fully employed MBA, plus military experience equals 4 or 5. I think it's so expansive because of the soft skills, the hard skills, the social skills, the crisis management, the stress management, the dealing with people from multi-ethnic backgrounds or any other delineation you want to have. It's just all of that coming together. It gels it together in a way that's amazing. And in that, there's a lot of unlearning that people have to do.
Yeah.
But unlearning isn't bad. Unlearning is actually a beautiful thing.
And you don't lose. Like I've got my military vocabulary. That's a conversational domain. I don't lose that.
No.
I add to that, and I get to now I can because I think a lot. Dean Olian before Dean Bernardo, Dean Olian
Yeah.
always talked about like a lot of people find success on the boundaries.
Yeah.
The accountant who can talk to marketing, or the engineer who can talk to accounting. Like
Yes.
that MBAs, and she was a person who lived in multiple countries,
Yeah.
very international. And I always appreciated that, like kind of like almost like a, like Google Translate, for complex human endeavor at a high level.
Yes. Yes. If that isn't, that's a skill set I think most military people bring, just because by virtue of the organization and the job and the things they've done, they have been herding cats for so long,
Yeah.
and putting square pegs into round holes for so long that they understand how that works. You're just giving them more tools and skill sets in a different language, as you said, and just a new way to navigate that. So to me, it's beautiful. It is just, and you see it here. You look at the military people around. I mean, there's some phenomenal human beings here.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love it. And yes, we still have our own language, and we have our chats where we talk in mil speak and we talk like our military folks, and we keep that in-house, but it's still there. It's still there, but then we can also come out and speak like adults and speak like professionals and speak like civilians in a way that makes sense. So we just get to code switch, as you want to call it, be multilingual. We get to do that and be both. I think that's a great skill to have.
Yeah.
It's a great skill to have. So it adds so much richness to this program because we do have such a strong military presence. But it's a strong military presence, but it's not a military school, if that makes any sense. It's not very, you don't see us marching up and down, but we're here. And we add our perspectives, and we have it's almost like we show people a different perspective. People are like, oh, I've never thought about that before. Because we've seen some things. And I think what we've seen and what we learn from others are mind-boggling. I'll give you an example. I know nothing about entertainment. I go to school in LA. I didn't know there was a thing called Hollywood accounting. Never heard the word. I was like, wait, what? And when I heard it, I looked around, and all the entertainment folks were like, yep. I'm like, they're nodding in agreement with something I've never heard of until this information is like 4 seconds old, and everyone else is here is nodding. And I realized there's just things I need to learn. But it's expanded my aperture so much. I have so much more awareness now because of the things you learn, especially from the other classmates. But I'll tell you, there are people in our classes, when they speak, I just shut up, take notes. Some people open their mouths, I break out a pen. I already know I'm going to learn something right now. Let me just shut up and take notes. And I love that insight, because it just like people want to hear about, they're intrigued by the military world. I'm intrigued by, the people that work at EY, or the people that work at some other consulting firm, or the people that work in some entertainment tech firm. You're like, how did you do that? Product placement, that's a thing? But you learn and you grow. And shamelessly, I've used that. We have somebody in my class, Kristen Ruby, who does product placement. I was called to do a part for media one day. And shamelessly, I got my UCLA cup and I had it in the screen. So UCLA Anderson was getting a plug as I was talking about the National City Chamber of Commerce for, what was that? NBC Universal. And it was like, that's what you do. You learn that. I learned that I would have never done that a year ago. I did that based on something that I learned because she had exposed me to a world that I didn't know about. Hey, Cheddy, watch this movie. Why? That's our car. We put that car in that movie. What? That's a thing?
People get paid to do that. Yeah.
Copious amounts of money, apparently, but it was great. But it's so much work that goes into that. And, just hearing her talk about the business side of it, again, exposure. I'm sure people get excited when they say, wait, you did the presidential inauguration? Yeah, I met every living president except the President Trump. Okay. But that, to me, that's like business as usual. But when someone else is talking about acquiring another company, I'm like, you did what? Yeah, we did that. You work in what bank? Doing what? I hear things and it blows my mind. We have people that work in the hotel industry at the highest levels, and when they tell stories, it blows my mind. It blows my mind. I mean, Tom Cuddy, Tommy Harris, those are our two hoteliers extraordinaire, and the things they do at the MGM Grand and the Golden Nugget to make it great, that I wouldn't even think about. Again, awareness that I didn't have. So I think there's this synergy of just sharing information and knowledge and things that you can share that blow my mind. We have somebody that works for an organization that goes around counting weapons in other countries. Wait, what? and you're not military, no military affiliation, but you're going in all these countries where I went and you're counting their weapons because I did that job.
Mm.
Come again? And then letting you count. It's just beautiful. And I love the beautiful people you see here. The personalities are amazing.
Mm.
There's when groups get together, there's that, forming, storming, norming, performing kind of thing we go
Right.
through. We went through the storming part very quickly. Very quickly. And I was like, it's coming. And it came, and I was like, that's it. That's why there's a caliber of people that we're dealing with that are just top notch. Because I've seen other executive MBAs. I've seen study groups where they come to blows or ready to come to blows. And I have not seen that here. I've not seen that level of animosity. So I'm like, the admissions team do a genius job of putting us together in such a way where my team, my study groups are my family. If they need me, let me know what you need, when, how, let's go, let's get it done. I love that. I love that. And we all had different superpowers. I felt like I was in like a superhero group. What do they call it? Like the Wonder Twins, or think of another one, the Super Friends, the Avengers, whatever. Let me get current. The Justice League. But this everyone has a superpower. You're like, whoa. When you see that synergy come together where someone knows about this, or somebody brings in the medical perspective, or wait, what? That's a concern. That's a thing. The amount of times I've said that's a thing has blown my mind, where you didn't know that was even an issue or an item or a consideration. So now when I see a problem, I have more facets on that diamond that I need to look at. Whereas before, it would have been almost, not that it was linear, but I would have had what my experience. I see it from this way, I see it from this way, I see it from that way, because that's what I know. Right. Now I see such a bigger picture of it now. And I love that. I love that. You don't get that everywhere. You don't get that everywhere. This is a caliber-rich environment. And I'm talking undergrads all the way up to PhD. The people that I've met here, and faculty and staff and everyone else, just amazing. Amazing. I don't know where they teach that, but this is not normal.
Yeah.
It's not normal.
It's to appreciate. Yeah, we're not, this is not a normal distribution of everyone you meet on the street. This is a magnet for young, high talent, high aspiration human beings from around the world.
Yes.
And that's a good thing. And it sits within the nest of the West Coast and the Latin America focus and the Asian focus and the tech media convergence and the dynamism of 2024 and the world we're in. So
and the way we do leadership.
Yeah.
The way we do leadership. I don't know. I'm a little excited about the way we do leadership. I think it's a hidden strength that UCLA should brag about more. Well, as a leadership coach, I'm just like, okay.
I think it's evolving. My observation, and I want to get to the course where we got to overlap last summer.
Yeah.
So let me. I won't do my observation. I got to be in class with you last summer, UCLA summer session, being a leader in the effective exercise of leadership and ontological phenomenological model, social welfare 270 with Dr. Khush Cooper. So that is my passion project, I guess you would say. Right. I'm an administrative dean. I'm MBA from Chicago Booth. I am not a PhD. So I'm not hired by UCLA as a faculty member. I'm hired to recruit, evaluate, onboard great working professional, fully employed MBA students. And I've been doing it 22 years and I love it. And I am now getting to be an instructor in that course. And I give, I don't know, 100 or 200 hours a year to this endeavor pro bono. And that's really where I got to meet you more fully last year. My hope is that class can live within the ecosystem and do the synergy, that we've been kind of alluding to with all this other good stuff. Because my experience in Chicago was, okay, I got this big old toolkit now, just loaded with wrenches and drivers, screwdrivers and hammers, but you still have to walk through the door. For me, it was Siemens, a German Fortune 50 conglomerate, and I was at a U.S. headquarters of a subsidiary in Santa Clara. So I Chicago opened, my MBA opened the door, got me in. I got a seat in the room where it happens, but you still got to raise your hand You still got to be respectful. You got to be nice. You got to treat the secretary as nice as you treat
Oh
the
yeah.
CEO. All that kind of in medicine, I think you'd call it bedside manner.
Yes.
And so for me, this ontological, phenomenological conversation is a real complement to epistemological
Yep.
knowledge, cutting edge knowledge, best knowledge money can buy. That's what you
Yeah.
get in an MBA. But there's a bridge between knowledge and bedside manner. A
Yes.
doctor has to see the disease accurately and talk to the patient who is very scared
Yes.
and very vulnerable in
Yeah.
a way that person will actually take the prescription and fill it and take the medicine at the regimen. And if you can be brilliant, and if you lack bedside manner, your healing efficacy, so I love that analogy to business. You can run the regression, you can
Yeah.
get your supply and demand slope just perfect.
Exactly.
But what did you say from Abe? If you don't have a plan and you can't engender a team. So, all right, that's a whole bunch of words. Tell me what you saw again with your military background, with your coaching as a career, your ongoing EMBA. Where did the being a leader class, like, what did it offer, and how has it been valuable?
Well, I will tell you, my first introduction to the class was you sending out a very Stafford-esque email. Hey, everybody. And it was so cool. I was like, what is this? Let me read it. What is that? Okay, it's a class. Okay. You sent another one. I was like, wait, sent another one. Okay. So it piqued my interest. What is this class and why is it different? Why can I barely read the title of this class?
Hey, got some like $55 words. Yeah.
I love it. I was like, okay, PC Master, look, ontological. I'm like, what are we talking about? Okay. I don't know what we're talking about. But me, I take everything. If it has leadership in the title, I'm taking it. I came here for leadership. So everything that has the word or scent of leadership, raise my hand. So I'm taking that class. Taking that class. And I just want as much leadership as I can get. I didn't expect that class to be, I thought it was going to just be a class. I know leadership. I didn't expect it to be so good. I tell everyone, I've never taken any leadership class anywhere that was that good and different, comprehensive in its approach, its structure, and the way it just dealt with the situation of leadership, just the way it dealt with leadership, how it broke it down in such a way we were like, what is going on? It broke it down to like the cellular micro level, and then molecule level, and then organ level. Then you have an organism at the end. And it was crazy how it just grew and evolved. And all of a sudden you're like, I don't know what's going on. And it took form. And I remember when it took shape. I think I was in England on the Zoom and I was like, I don't get this and I don't get that. And a few days later, it was like, oh my gosh, I get it. Like these two ideas that weren't making any sense came together and it gelled. I was like, you guys broke down leadership into its bare essence and reconstructed it so we could see how it was built. I've never seen that done before. And it changed the way I looked at leadership on the other end of it, the way I communicated. When I'm looking for someone, looking for like a intended future for someone else, just that you're saying all the things and you broke it down into a different language. So now it's like, now I know what I'm doing when I'm giving somebody a vision. I know what I'm doing when I'm trying to convey what I see and have them get buy-in so they can see what I see. So, and they can do it from their motivations while I have my motivations, but yet we get the same result and the same end state. Okay, that to me was all macro stuff. You broke it down into the science behind it, the science behind the science, the magic behind the magic. And I'm like, never seen that before. And it was such a masterclass. I actually understand why people take it again. Like, I think I'll be taking it again. I'm very sure, unless I'm not in the country, I'll be taking that class again. And if I'm not in the country, guess what? I can still take the class again.
That's right. Yeah, summer session lets us deliver it over Zoom. And
yes,
what's the Indian proverb? You never cross the same river twice.
Twice, yeah.
And I think some of these really life-changing elements of the MBA, leadership, ethics, communication, none of us ever, those are bottomless, mountains with no top.
Yeah.
Bottomless oceans.
Yeah.
Like there's no end to, if you're going to be on the court and participate in life at the level that MBAs do for the next 2, 3, or 4 decades.
Yes.
you're never going to get done learning about leadership by living, putting yourself in new, challenging, ethical moments, communicating, as you said earlier, with very diverse peoples from all over the planet. Well,
Yeah.
sorry, but that's me talking. I wanted to ask you questions. Shut up, Dylan. Let Cheddy talk.
No,
So,
you're good. I love
no,
it.
no, no, no. That's good. Well, I mean, it was okay. So, in a couple of the distinctions, leadership as a language phenomenon.
Yes.
That what leaders, anytime you see someone leading, what you're seeing is language, whether
Yes.
it's the spoken word, visual and PowerPoint,
Yes.
body language,
Mhm.
executive presence, and what you alluded to with working with high talent people, creating a creative future is how we phrase it. A future that was not going to happen otherwise, the presence of which has people change their behavior to participate to cause that future to occur. And it's, to me, it's when Kennedy said we're going to put a man on the moon and bring him back safely by the end of the decade. There was no NASA,
Yep.
there was no JPL, there was
Yep.
no budget.
Yeah.
All there was the Russians and Sputnik and America feeling very, very unsteady.
Yeah.
Right? He spoke a future that didn't exist, and millions of people and billions of dollars coalesced around the fulfillment of that future. And then how do we take that and do that with our commitments? You want to save the environment? You want to fix racism? You want to have a peaceful civil transfer of power in an election year?
Yeah.
Those are all going to take leadership.
Yeah.
They're all going to take leadership. And it's, who am I going to be in the face of no agreement, in the face of headwinds and side winds and not enough time and not enough money and not enough budget and imperfect information? But this is my one and only wild and precious life. And if I'm going to put a thumbprint on it that has anything to do with, as you said, authenticity, I don't want to live someone else's life. This is it. For whatever reason, this little goofy person in this skin bag from East Texas, sitting here in the fancy with, right up here is, Beyonce and whatever her husband, the other guy who's super, like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And now, I get to overlap with all of these amazing lives, and I get to be part of UCLA. So it's like, okay, so that's where my pro bono energy comes from. It was a 1-2 punch for me. I had the MBA, but I needed something to crack open the confidence. And I was opposite of you. I was early career. I was the second youngest person in a full-time MBA.
Wow.
And I did an ontological course like 6 months into my brand new job at Siemens. And within a year of that, I was on the cover of the Employee magazine for leading a project. I got promoted to the world headquarters in Germany for 3 years. Nice. And my salary doubled by the time I got my first paycheck, after a cost of living allowance and a housing allowance. And I'm in a penthouse apartment in Munich, Germany, looking at the Isar, 25 years old or whatever, 26 years old, going, what just happened here? So it's, it is, like, I want every MBA to have access to unlocking the potential.
Yeah.
And I think for each of us, like you said, it's like, and I appreciate that acknowledgement earlier. I talk to you all day if you acknowledge me like that, but you're never going to be Dylan. I'm also, humbly spoken, never going to be Cheddy, but I want to be the best Dylan. It's like beat yesterday.
Yeah.
I want, just Dylan today taking action so that Dylan tomorrow is proud of Dylan yesterday, but is bigger and better. And that, leadership begins with leading our self component. And again, I am not listening. I am a chatterbox. And scene.
Well, all the stuff you're saying, you see me, I'm like, yes, 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 and yes. But, during the class, it was, when you start talking about communicating a future that doesn't exist, it wasn't academic anymore. That was such a mindset, deeply ingrained way, like the core, the raw essence of leadership to me. And it also added a certain level of gravity to this leadership. Leadership is a responsibility. And to me, and when you went through that part of the course, it seemed like a sacred responsibility, because you can dictate futures. based on what you articulate and how people receive that and how they change their behavior to do a thing that didn't exist until you said what you said. That is powerful. There's an alchemy in that doesn't get talked about enough.
Mm.
And for someone who knows leadership, and I understand the severity of leadership, that's not lost on me as a Marine, but I've never heard civilians talk about leadership in that way. And it was interesting because usually when we talk about the gravity of leadership, it's usually because of the dollar value of an asset or the value of a soul that could be lost. That's it. We talk about high ticket items and high value human beings that could perish. This was really not talking about that, but yet the gravity was the same. You can change your world. Leaders are world changers. World changers. And when you look at a lot of the world changes that we acknowledge, they were just doing a thing. They were just trying to change the world for the way they wanted to see the world. Really, they were like, I want to be in a history book 200 years from now. That wasn't even their thought. No. So it made me realize the power that we have. And it's something you say, but you've said this before, that one person can change the world. One person. I mean, really. And who's that person going to be? Because I tell you, a lot of them seem like they've been alumni and have come through this school that have changed the world in some way, shape, or form. So it could be one of us as well. That course was so raw because it really stripped off all of the noise from leadership, and it just really got to the purest essence of what leadership is. And it's a beautiful thing. To me, leadership is sacred, and that class helped to expose it in that way. That's why I want to take it again, because just like my coach will tell you, Christian Simpson, you never stop learning. You never stop learning. And gurus may have reached the top, but I don't know what a guru is. Not my name. And I'm looking to grow and excel and be better. Like you said, better today than I was yesterday. That's a thing. That's a thing. And continuing to learn, there's a gem there. There's growth. There's additional consciousness and additional awareness that happens when you elevate and do the same thing again. Because like you said, you never cross the same river twice. I love that because I could visualize that. Going through this course this next time, this summer, will not be the same as last year.
Yeah.
And truth be told, this class, as it was happening, I was dealing with the loss of my other mother. And I think you could tell it was devastating. This class, specifically your class, helped me to process thoughts in a way that enabled me to deal with the grief, to manage the things that had to be managed with the decedent affairs and the families and the noise and the pain, just all that stuff, the business and the personal coming together. It helped me to manage that in 2 countries. And I was very grateful. I should have actually wrote you guys and told you that, but that class helped me to navigate that emotionally difficult time in my life where I was just broken and devastated and couldn't function. But it was broken down in such a way where it was like, take a step back. It enabled me to take a step back and breathe.
Well, you're telling us now.
Eyeballs didn't get sweaty on that one. Almost did, so they didn't get sweaty. It was close.
Well, and just in a strange synergy, you spoke of your sister Annette and my sister Lisa. So I did the Being a Leader course in the winter of 2016. I asked Gonzalo if I could audit it. Wow. And I took it in winter of 16. And in spring of 16, I told you I launched Drive Time.
Yeah.
I also, my parents, my brother, and myself, we lost my sister at the age of 44, wow. Not supposed to happen. Sorry. And who I was able to be for my family, that was the hardest summer of my parents' life, hardest summer of my life. Yeah. She died. She wasn't supposed to die. She had a complicated life and she passed away. She was found on the side of Interstate 25, south of Colorado Springs, by a homeless person. She curled up in the back of her Ford Escape. And I've never, you've seen death. I have not. That's not been my journey. And, it's like, who am I going to be for my parents? And I'm going to be their son. And I am going to listen. And we're going to create a celebration of life. And we're going to do it according to my father. My father is a minister, a very kind of conservative minister. We're not going to, it's going to have a certain etiquette that works for him. And we're going to be there for my mom, and she's going to cry unexpectedly for the next several years. Yeah. And this is life.
Yeah.
This is what's so, and I still have a wife and children and a job, and to have any kind of access to equanimity in the face of that
Yeah.
was not about knowledge, and it was not about platitudes and bumper stickers and
No.
positive affirmations. It was about
No.
it was about I'm on this planet as a son, as a brother, as a husband, as a father, as an employee, and in those five roles, there's a way to be.
Yeah.
And and that's the ontological component. We humans have that extra descriptor, human being.
Yeah.
We don't say dog being or cat being. We just say dog and cat. But when we talk about ourselves, there's this being element.
Yeah.
And that's my commitment, that the potential of this huge investment of time and money that the trust that people engender when they get their MBA from UCLA, I don't, we want to meet expectations, of course, but we want to exceed them.
Exceed.
And that knowing myself capable of more than I was capable of. And I was capable of a lot because I was able to earn a seat here. So
yeah,
the inputs are very incredible. And we want the outputs to be, as you would say, good to great, great to amazing.
Great to amazing.
Yeah. Well,
wow.
Thank you for that perspective on the Being a Leader course. I will share that with folks who are thinking about it in the future. So
please do.
We thought about going 30 minutes. Obviously, we didn't do that.
No worries.
last words are yours. Anything you'd like to say to kind of land the plane, of anything, personal, professional, advice for the future, anything. We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to you than we even, we just scratched the surface. You're a father, you got kids who are awesome, and you're doing your life is full. But to our audience of the Anderson family, current, future, the floor is yours.
I would tell you, just to the Anderson community, one thing I would tell you is to stay intellectually curious. Always ask questions, ask follow-on questions, why behind the why, and be willing at least to consider that you may have to unlearn to relearn some new things. And the way the world was may not be the way the world will be, and be prepared for that. Position yourself so you can be an agent of that change, or manage that change, or be on the right side of that curve. Make sure you're on the right side of the chasm. And this school helps you to do that. This school will help you to do that. The way this school works on the three things that I'm always talking about, the mindset, the skill set, and the tool sets, are remarkable. And that's not normal. I don't think that's normal. But the school does that in a great way. The class we were talking about, being a leader, was such a mindset class. It was academic, but it was really mindset. And I was like, whoa, I'm coming to an academic environment and they're talking about mindset in a way that's helping my academic journey become even more rich. That doesn't happen every day. So that's not lost on me. That's not lost on me. So I'm not going to keep anyone's time to promote myself, but just, if you're thinking about this school, if you're thinking about transitioning to the next level, seriously, come see me as a coach. I hope you go from good to great to amazing. But if not, come to UCLA, Anderson School of Management.
Well, and 100%, 100%. I'm stepping on your words. I'm so sorry.
Oh no, you're fine.
But if people want to find you, what's the best way to find you?
Cheddy Speaks. Yeah, LinkedIn is fine. LinkedIn, Cheddy Matthews. You'll find me there. The Executive's Secret Weapon. You may find it that. Might be my tagline, unless I change it. But I'm out there. Find me. If you're looking for a speaker, I'm here. I love a microphone. I will beatbox on your microphone, and then I will speak and deliver a message that would change the audience.
Well, we will for sure put all the links in the notes.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Cheddy. This has been fun. This is just awesome. It just, we're in this crazy, rainy, unique winter, and like Los Angeles is so pristine. It just rained yesterday and everything's so bright, and it's like so California dreaming, optimistic. And I appreciate I appreciate your generativity on the planet, and your role as a citizen on the Chamber of Commerce, and your commitment that individuals find their spark and shine their spark and
Whew. Talking my talk.
Yeah.
Stop talking, you're getting me excited. I love it.
Okay. All right. Well, on that fine note, thank you for your time this gorgeous Southern California March afternoon in 2024. Look at that.
Thank you so much. Shameless plug. I love it. But no, thank you so much. Stay amazing and talk to you soon. Ciao.
Thanks.
Bye now.